It is very, very important for the state of Louisiana to no longer rely on fees, costs, and taxes in the juvenile system. We cannot tax our young people and their families. In most cases, they're not able to afford these costs. The system should not be reliant upon these fees, costs, and taxes to operate. Not only is it morally wrong, it's economically inefficient, counterproductive, and oftentimes has worse consequences for the families that are being assessed than we initially intended. So the best way to solve this is just to rid ourselves from these fees altogether. These fees and these costs and taxes have proven to be a greater burden on families of color in particular, who overwhelmingly make up the overwhelming majority of the juvenile system. Parts of these fee structures have already been deemed to be unconstitutional. So we're going to continue to fight legal challenges that we should no longer engage in, and we would all make a huge step as a state if we just simply abolish the practice altogether. Anytime money is used as a means to fund the system, you create a two-tiered system of justice, those who can pay and those who can't pay. And then that is inherently unfair. There's mounds of empirical data and research that shows that these fees only lead to increased levels of recidivism. That once these fees, costs, and taxes are placed upon a young person, their likelihood to recidivate only increases. So the negative consequences are much greater than any positive outcome. It's important to note that the National Council on Juvenile and Family Court Judges has already weighed in on this matter and advised that states should abolish such fees. The negative economic impacts on families across America is so crystal clear, but particularly upon those families of color. These administrative fees, costs, and taxes are just an additional burden on families of color who have already been negatively impacted as a result of the pandemic. Research and evidence has already shown that local jurisdictions and agencies actually end up spending more on the cost of trying to collect than they can actually collect. At the end of the day, there are just certain costs that government is responsible for. And these are some of those costs. The cost to operate a well-functioning system should not be dependent upon the pockets of the people who appear before those systems. Access to diversionary programs for young people should never be dependent upon how much money they have in their pockets. Another very harmful aspect is that once a child has completed all conditions of probation, one way in which they are kept in the system is their inability to pay the fees that are still hanging over their heads.